Citizen Jim, chicken cheese and Citizen Jim. They're America's most loved, most beloved best friends.
The Copper Standard, in which Citizen Jim needs chicken sheets to help him stop the collapse of global financial markets.
It was a gloomy Saturday evening that found me writing and rewriting an important grocery store manifest. Since the end of December, I'd been tossing around ideas of what I should buy with the two $25 gift vouchers I'd received during the holidays from the corporation that owns Wimbledon Manor, my workplace. Of course, the moment I received these treasures, I wrapped each one in cling film and dropped them into separate top-lock sandwich bags. Then I stuffed the sandwich bags inside a number 10 envelope that I sealed inside two more sets of envelopes of increasing size. Finally, I secured the outer envelope with packing tape and covered the packing tape with duct tape. To complete my security measures, I locked the envelope containing the envelope that contained the envelope that contained the plastic bag that contained my vouchers inside my fireproof document box and shoved it on. Never mind where I put it. That's nobody's business but mine. Finalizing my purchasing decisions was proving more difficult than I anticipated. Though I'd been smart enough to use a pencil when I set about making my list, I'd erased so many items to replace them with better choices that the paper under my hands was as torn and ragged as a ransom note written by a hook-handed monkey. After checking the prices with several grocery store apps on my smartphone, the cheapest variations of the items on my list came to just under $47, minus sales tax. Once I scrounged up the 31 cents I'd have to fork over in addition to the vouchers, I'd be sitting pretty on my kitchen stool for a few evenings, scarfing down what would be, for all intents and purposes, the free lunch most people say does not exist in this world. I squeezed my weary eyes shut and reopened them to focus on what I felt was the definitive iteration of this exercise. I cleared my throat and read my list to the cats. 1 quart of milk, 2 cans of smoked herring, 4 slices of cheese, 1 pickled egg, 1 Kaiser roll, half of an apple, without stem and core. Before the cats could complain that there was nothing on the list for them, someone started pounding on my door. Keeping those vouchers in my apartment had made me paranoid, which was why I was so happy to have finally decided what to buy with them. The sooner I redeemed them, the safer I would feel. After 2 more seconds of pounding, I almost tossed the key to my fireproof lockbox into my mouth, fully prepared to swallow it if I had to. I knew that wouldn't be necessary once I called out, "Who is it?" and heard the reply. "If you don't open this damn door in 2 seconds, I'm going to throw all your lawn furniture on the roof and chop down your privacy fence so everyone can spy on you through your bedroom window." Oh, joy. It was Citizen Jim, my best friend, and the person I love most in the world. When I opened the door to greet him, I noticed that he hadn't come empty-handed. "Do I even want to know what's in those bags?" I asked. "I'm sure you do. But I don't want all your nosy neighbors to know what's in the bags, so you'd better start helping me haul them inside," he said. "I'm not being nosy, I'm just out here smoking," yelled Dave next door from his patio. "It's a free country. I should be able to sit on my own porch and smoke without being accused of spying on people." "He wasn't talking about you," I shouted in the direction of Dave next door's patio. "Yes, I was," Citizen Jim yelped, "but I'll let him in on the secret if he'll help us lug this shit inside." "To hell with you," Dave yelled. "If I wanted to spy on my neighbors while I'm enjoying a cigarette on my patio, I'd hop into a time machine and go back to the GDR in 1986. Dave's door slammed as he went inside to escape us. "Way to go, asshole," Citizen Jim said to me. "Thanks for scaring away 2 extra arms." "I can't lift anything heavy. My sciatica's acting up something horrible today," I said. "Damn you, you weak woman, and damn your failing body. I guess I have to do everything. It's like you don't even care about becoming a millionaire unless I'm doing all the work," he said, then gathered 5 or 6 of the bags in his arms. "Open the door, or is your constitution too delicate to do that?" He appeared to use no effort to lift the bags he held. "Are those bags empty?" I asked. "Not by a long shot," Citizen Jim said. "If you'll move your broken-down carcass aside, I'll carry them in and show you the map to riches beyond your wildest and most vivid and ridiculous dreams. By all means, I said, and hopped out of his way. How could I pass up that offer? I'd have to shell out $20 or more on a box of nicotine patches to start having my wildest, most vivid and ridiculous dreams again. Before I knew what was happening, Citizen Jim started unzipping all the duffel bags he'd carried inside and was dumping their contents on the floor of my apartment. At this moment, I instantly regretted answering the door 5 minutes earlier. He brought his palms together with a loud crack and said, "All right now, you need to bust every piggy bank you've got hidden in this apartment and start filling these coin wrappers." I started. "Don't worry, I'm going to help you. But we need to get on it or someone's going to beat us to the punch, and then I'll blame you for the failure of my idea and punish you accordingly." "But they're all penny coin wrappers," I said. "Look, I said I'd help you. By the time we fill up one duffel bag, I'm sure you'll be able to count all the way to 50 on your own. I'm just saying I don't save pennies." "Saving pennies is the most useless financial exercise you could do," I said. "Explain," said Citizen Jim, crossing his arms over his chest and tapping his foot. "The U.S. Mint stopped making pennies. Nobody is going to want pennies. You probably won't even be able to cash pennies in for paper money eventually," I told him. "You're right," he said, stroking his chin and nodding his head. "Dang, but you sure are correct." I nodded once as if to say, "Of course." In less than a second, he turned red with furious anger. "Why do I always forget that you never see the big picture?" he asked. "Why should I even look for the big picture when I know the frame is always empty? For someone who's so clever with words, you sure are challenged when it comes to anything else," he said. "Sit down, friend, and let me lay out my plans for my future, your future, and the future of all working people." If I had said that, Citizen Jim would have called me an anarcho-syndicalist pinko commie. "Now look," he said. "I know you're probably thinking that a phrase like all working people is supposed to conjure images of wildcat strikes and seizing the means of production and all the other pinko commie bullshit that fills your head. See, I told you. I'm not ashamed to say that you're right about what I think about when I think about all working people," I said to Citizen Jim. "What's that got to do with how useless pennies are and will continue to be?" "Why are you like this?" he asked calmly, though I could see the desperation glowing in his eyes like hot coals. He continued, "Have you ever found a penny and picked it up?" "Of course," I said, "and all that day you had good luck, right?" Sadly, I thought I knew where this was going. "Are you here to get me to help you develop some kind of luck-based Bitcoin backed by pennies?" I asked him, but went on, answering my own question. "Of course you are. Bitcoins that idiots will buy and then throw into virtual fountains." The fire in his eyes extinguished as soon as I said this. Jesus, that's actually better than my idea. "Then you won't mind a 51-49 split if you decide to do my thing?" "Hell no, if you—" "Stop it. You're trying to distract me," he said. "Now hush." I shrugged. "Fine, that's just more time to think about how I can shut you out of any deals you might want to make later." "Listen, radish brain, here's the thing. They may have stopped making the pennies, and the pennies may be taken out of circulation over time. But the pennies are, without doubt, the true adhesive that holds in place the outsized power held by Congress, big tech, Taylor Swift, artificial intelligence, cat memes, nouveau rustic chefs, and Mayor Mac cheese." "Where'd you hear that? On your ham radio in the basement?" I asked. "Ham radio! I never heard of such a delicious-sounding thing," he said. "Anyway, in case you haven't noticed, there aren't many tax rates that use a number rounded to the nearest 5. That means, once all the pennies are gone, any business that deals in cash won't be able to give correct change to their customers." "No, they'll just give back less change to the customer," I said. "Stores are doing that already. I'm sure every treasury of all government bodies will just raise the municipal and county and state taxes to the next factor of 5. But they can't do that overnight. The people would revolt. It'd be the whiskey rebellion all over again, only 300 million times worse," he insisted. "But let's stay on topic. If those businesses who need pennies but have no access to pennies start to fear for their safety and continued success, they'll have to get pennies somewhere, right?" I shrugged, then nodded. "I guess." "And if the government takes the pennies out of circulation, where are the banks going to get them? And if the banks can't get any pennies from the U.S. Mint, where are those desperate businesses going to get their hands on some pennies? I hated to play into his theorizing, but he was starting to sound scarily right. This wasn't going to end well for the average person working an average job, especially since prices were climbing to the point that I was only going to be able to buy 6 very basic food items with $50 in gift vouchers on my next trip to the grocery store. "Oh my God," I said. "This is going to be cataclysmic. I don't care what you kids are calling a butt-tingling thrill nowadays. Without pennies, we will enter an era of darkness so long and thick and dark that people will mistake it for the world's largest Almond Joy candy bar. We are. This is going to be horrible," I said. "But not if there's a place, a kind of informal bank-type place that pops up on corners of all major cities and small towns and sells pennies. Pennies that will be wrapped in the coin sleeves inside these duffel bags." I looked at the floor of my apartment and nearly burst into tears thinking that my best friend and the person I love most in the world had a plan to stave off civil war and keep global financial markets from collapsing in the coming decade. "You're going to save the world, precious lamb," I said. "Well, I'm going to take credit for saving the world, but pennies don't just pick themselves up off of parking lot asphalt and from between sofa cushions and under car floor mats," he said. "So I'm going to need you to do the collecting. I'll come back in a couple weeks to pick up my first 10 bags of product. Well, I have to work every day and—" "Perfect. You can hustle those boomers outside with yard vacuums. Don't call bingo until they meet their quota of pennies found around that 40-acre crypt where you work. Tell them it's the least they can do for buying into supply-side economics and then selling out the country," he said. He walked out the door before I could argue with him. I immediately called my neighbor, Dave, next door. "Can you put up a listing for me on Facebook Marketplace?" He said he could. "I've got a bunch of brand new duffel bags and a whole lot of unused coin wrappers to sell," I said. "I'll buy you a pack of cigarettes as payment, and the ad needs to say that they have to pay in pennies." I started texting him photos of the items as soon as we hung up.